Hello, welcome to Wednesday night's Hotline Live with Record Sport. My name is Daniel Cole. I'm delighted as ever to be joined by Keith Jackson. Keith, how are you?
Oh, I'm absolutely magic, Dan. Absolutely fantastic. I mean, apart from the fact that we appear to be hurtling towards the brink of World War III and a potential nuclear oblivion, apart from that, mind you, that's probably the perfect plot twist for season 25-26.
Exactly.
The
No,
way
no
this
one will
season's
want
going. Well, if the Hearts fans think this is bad news, wait until Neil Doncaster awards calls the season early and awards the title at Celtic.
Keith, we're not alone tonight. We're joined by the one and only, the legendary Record Sport columnist, Ryan Stevenson. Ryan, how
Dan,
are you?
I can't hear you.
You can't hear me?
No.
I can. No.
Technical issues. Slightly terrifying looking Ryan Stevenson there.
Can you hear Keith all right? I think he might.
Steve-O, can you hear us?
I can hear you, Keith, but I can't hear Dan.
All right, okay. Right, well, we'll just do a one-to-one then. That's probably better. Just keep Dan out of it.
Aye. I'll chime in.
That probably is the best.
Steve, obviously, listen, you had your column in the paper today, which I thought was terrific. Obviously, talking about Wilfried Nancy. You were the first pundit to come out and call it, and you called it on day one when you were there as commentating duties on the Celtic versus Hearts game. I thought it was good that you said in the column today that there's no gloating from you, the fact that it ended in exactly the way that you said it would from day one.
No, because I think at the end he's a human being, and I think the pressure, obviously just the scrutiny all round about it at the end, it must have been horrendous for him. It must have been horrendous for his family. And part of me actually felt bad for the way I sort of come out, said it early doors, and it's obviously unfolded that way. And there's no gloating at all from my side. I just think it was the wrong guy. I think it was the wrong choice. But I solely believe that the blame lies with the board, and it lies with Tidsdale, who was in charge of bringing in managers and bringing in recruitment. So I mean, he was thrown into the deep end. I think on part the fact that he wouldn't budge off his formation and he wouldn't change to be adaptive. I think you have to be if you're going to be a good manager. That's just my personal opinion. But I felt sad for him in a human side.
It's never. These things are never nice. In fact, what I would say about that is, Ryan, and I don't give the Celtic board credit for much these days, but what I would say is at least they pulled the trigger early, because how many times have you seen it when a guy is locked into a death spiral like that and it goes on and on for weeks longer than it should do, and it just becomes really unedifying, really difficult to watch. At least it was almost like a mercy killing, wasn't it? Just get it done, get it out of the road.
I think it was getting to that. I think it was getting to that stage, Keith, as well. I think the biggest thing for the board was the way that it unfolded. They had Martin obviously was in the background that he would come back. I would imagine they had asked that question. I think with it coming into January, they have to make the right signings. Just with the way the season, even with Hearts top, the fact that Rangers have now started to come back into it, they 100% have to get the signings right, the recruitment right in January. Even as Martin O'Neill said yesterday, they desperately need bodies in the building just to give themselves a lift, just to give the full club a lift, to give the players that are already in the building a little push as well. And I mean, they're not in that bad as disappointing as it's been. They're not in that bad a spot, because they can easily get 6 points back. And I would imagine they would be hoping that Martin coming back in can do that. I spoke to you yesterday about it. I don't think it'll be as easy as what it was in the first 8 or 9 games. But if MD can do it, it's going to be him. What I would like to see is, I would love to see somebody from the board come out and actually put their hands up and say, do you know what, guys? We got this wrong. I think fans, and that's across the board, but especially Celtic fans just now, they deserve to hear from the guys that are making these big decisions. And for me, and this is across football in general, is these guys behind the scenes get away with far too much. and they try and pull the wool over people's eyes, and the fans who are paying their money, who come week in, week out. It's a family thing. It's through generations. Come out and just say, do you know what? We are sorry. We apologise to fans. We royally messed this up.
Yeah.
And I think fans would actually appreciate it. I think fans would then go, do you know what? At least they've had the actual decency to come out and give us, answers and try and sort of
own it.
Gap.
Own it.
Oh,
just own it.
Yeah, 100%. 100%.
I can see Michael Nicholson hiding in the back of your motor there now, Ryan.
I think that's where a lot of fans get disgruntled, mate, is because they just don't say a word. They make these decisions and they don't come out and tell fans. And at the end of the day, the be all and end all is the fans are the heartbeat of every single club, and the fans are the heartbeat of football. But it's a big month for Celtic, massive month for Hearts as well, because they play them at the end of the month as well. So exciting times again. It's just been a great season for the neutral and for a Hearts fan or anybody else that's not supporting probably Rangers and Celtic. Maybe Rangers a bit more now because they're coming back into it, but it's been a great season so far.
Keith, I know Ryan probably still can't hear me, but I wanted to jump in and say I caught up with Record Sports' Ryan McDonald to talk about Celtic and the boardroom problems, which we'll come to later on. There's plenty of comments coming in. The Goon Platoon says you buy season ticket to watch games, not to hear from board members. I would come back and say I think Ryan's spot on. I mean, Celtic need to explain why was Nancy employed in the first place, why was Tisdale appointed, the former Exeter City manager. I mean, they need to explain it.
Yeah, especially when, and on a serious point, we're talking about Ryan's initial column where he called it out and he said, look, this isn't going to work. Ryan's a football guy, and all he needed was what, Ryan, what we're talking about, half an hour into that game, you'd already pretty much come to that conclusion. No. What was it that you were seeing from that first half, Celtic against Hearts, that seemed to be lost on the guys that made the appointment?
Yeah, I think the fact that it came in, and I think through the grapevine you'd heard that he had a system that he played. Nancy, this was the only way he was going to play. He believed in this system, and this was what it was going to be. And to be fair, at the start of the Hearts game, they started really, really well for the first 10, 15, 20 minutes. But even during that 10, 15 minutes, I turned to Packy Bonner and I said to Packy, they are so wide open here that if Hearts just get themselves into the game, the spaces down the sides of both sides of Celtic were ridiculous. And as good as Hearts are, what I did echo into that was they played Rome on the Thursday, and against a better quality team, it's meat and drink. They were just going to pick them off constantly, and that's what obviously unfolded into that. Yeah,
you predicted that, and that's what happened. Yeah,
and again, I don't take any pleasure in that. But then what you would like to see is, and especially for a player as well, because there'll be players playing in that formation that don't want to play in, that are uncomfortable in that formation.
Getting absolutely exposed.
Manager, absolutely. And you're looking for your manager to help you. That's his job, is to help you as a player and the team. And I think after a couple of games, he had to change. Just going to a back four just to say, look, we need to be resilient. We need to sort of have a decent formation that we can try and build on. But the fact that he kept going with the three, and this is the way we're going to play, and he was asking players to do things that I don't think that they were capable of doing. I've been in a changing room, and I've been one of the players where I've just went, I am not having this at all. And then the training becomes really difficult because you get out to training and you find the boys' attitudes and the demeanours in training can, the standard of training can drop dramatically. Yeah, because they're not enjoying it and they're not believing what this guy's saying. And it just, Keith, it can turn within a week for being a really happy camp to a poisonous camp, and that's obviously how it went. And obviously we're hearing stories that are coming out for players and how they were feeling and things like that. So I mean, Celtic have done the best thing that they possibly could. It was a hard decision to do, was relieve him of his duties, and I think they've been forced into a corner as well with the fact that they had to. I think as a board, they had to get Martin O'Neill back in, because if it goes well, brilliant. If it doesn't go well, he's got so much cash in the bank with Celtic and with the fans and things like that, it kind of just glosses over everything.
Keith, I know obviously I don't think Ryan could still hear me. You might need to translate, but I just wanted to put to him, going back to his column, a lot of people took exception to the stuff about green trainers and tactics boards. I wondered if Ryan could maybe elaborate, or does he regret it, or how does he look back on it?
Can you hear that, Steve?
No, and you go, you relate to me.
Dan, and from a very safe distance, obviously through me as the middleman, wants to say to you that he thinks you were out of order talking about Wilfried Nancy's green trainers and tactics board.
Don't listen to him. Don't listen to him, Ryan.
No, he did not. Surely he can. And again, do you know what? Obviously, the abuse I took for that was severe. But I still stick by it. I still stick by, and again, that's nothing personal against him, because on the plane on the way over, somebody should have sat him and said to him, "Listen, this is how we operate at Celtic." And I'll give you a quick thing on that. Is Ange, when Ange left to go to Tottenham, at Tottenham he wore whatever he wanted. He would wear a nice jacket, cords, whatever, trainers. That's Tottenham's DNA. For me, when you watch Ange at Celtic, he wore a suit or a tracksuit with a club tie. I think it's the same across the road. At Rangers, Russell Martin came into the same sort of thing. Now, I'm not saying that's the reason why he was a bad manager and it didn't work. All I'm saying is they two teams are our crown jewels. There's so much history. They're global football clubs. Like, to turn up on your first game with a set of green trainers on, and I understand to an extent why he's done it. They're green, and if it goes the other way, fans absolutely love it. I just like the fact that I think that somebody in the board should have said, when we turn up, if I turn up for a new club, when I turned up to Hearts, the first thing they said was it was suits for home games, tracksuits for away games. That was it. That's the standards we have. And I think
it's about the setting of standards, isn't it? I think even Danny Rowe's a young guy, inexperienced at Rangers, but he was actually clever enough, and it doesn't make him a better manager. It doesn't make him more tactically astute. But by being clever enough to realise that by doing this, it's a nod of respect to the status of the job, to the size of the club. I think that's right. And I think you were obviously slaughtered for it. But I think what you were saying was, this doesn't look like a professional fit to me.
No, and I think some fans will take it and they'll be like, "Oh, what are you talking about? That's a load of rubbish." I say it because I love the fact that we have Rangers and Celtic in our country, and I think Celtic are such a big club that they deserve that. The fans deserve that respect and the history they've got. You walk up towards Celtic Park and there's the big statues and everything. I just think the manager should be on that sideline with a Celtic tracksuit on or a club suit. And from a player's point of view, I've been in changing rooms since I was 14, 15. When a manager walks in, now I never had the opportunity to play for any of the old firm, but I can imagine the standards. And if a manager walked in for me for his first home game with a set of green trainers on, I would 100% turned around to my teammate and went, "What is the gaffer wearing?"
I think that's a side issue anyway. You know, I think it's a throwaway. The main point was Wilfried Nancy's tactics, his team selections, his system. He made Celtic a sitting duck. And I think if it gone on for 2 or 3 or 4 games longer, Ryan, I think they were out of this. I think from a Hearts perspective, which is obviously where you're coming from, that safety net, Wilfried Nancy provided Hearts with a safety net. It's gone now. Martin O'Neill's taken it away. How does that feel?
100%. Well, do you know what? I said last week, I said, if Hearts can beat Livingston, go the next couple of games, and then play Celtic at Tynecastle and beat Celtic, and if Nancy was still the manager, for me, Hearts would win the league. Because that's how strong I feel about it. I felt about it. I thought if they can get to the Celtic game, having won every single game after the Hibs game, beat Celtic at Tynecastle, for me, they're them favourites, and they are. I think they would have gone on and won the league. And saying that now with Martin coming back, having done what he did in the 8-9 games that he had, all that sort of goes out the window.
That's a different ball game now, Ryan. You
can't write him off. He's got 3 weeks now to bring in players, which he will. I think he'll galvanise. I know he'll galvanise the full club. And again, on the side of that is Rangers have actually started to do reasonably well as well. So for me, Celtic are still the favourites with Martin coming back in. But what I will say is, and I still stick by it, if Hearts can get to the Celtic game, and Martin O'Neill's in that dugout, which he will be, and Hearts managed to beat Celtic at Tynecastle with Martin O'Neill in the dugout, that will be one hell of a result, and then it will be game on.
That's throwing the marker down. You're right. That is certainly throwing the marker down. In fact, are you not of the opinion that it might be even better, reverse psychology-wise, if Martin O'Neill does get Celtic back in a run of wins, heading into the Tynecastle game? I think it's the 25th of January. He gets them up and running again the way they did the last time, and then Hearts slap them down. That seemed to be the scenario that you were suggesting in your call.
100%. I mean, in the changing room, again, I've been in the Hearts changing room for a long time. I know what it's like. Boys will be saying, you know what? Go and win the next couple of games, come to Tynecastle, and then imagine we actually could. They never had the opportunity to play against Martin O'Neill when he was at Celtic in that brief spell there. Bring him to Tynecastle, let's beat him, let's get a result, and everything does change completely, because then if Hearts do manage to do that, they can then take the confidence of, well, we've just beat Martin O'Neill's team. Where right now, there's all the euphoria of him coming back, hitting the ground running. So, I mean, again, the next 2-3 weeks are just brilliant for Scottish football in general, because Martin's back. Celtic, you would imagine, will have a bounce back in their step. Rangers, as I said, good result last night. And hopefully Hearts can go and win the next couple of games and then go into that game at Tynecastle and put Celtic to the sword and then go on and win the league.
What about the threat from Rangers? Do you consider it serious, Ryan?
Yes, 100%. I don't think you can. Listen, I don't think you can ever say any of the old firm aren't a threat at any time. This has been a unique season, and both of them it's only 6 points. So the thing that I take comfort from is I don't see the wheels falling off Hearts. They might fall away. They might have a dip again. But I don't
maybe
see the wheels maybe, hopefully, but I don't see the wheels completely coming off where Rangers and Celtic go and finish 10, 15, 20 points ahead of them. So Rangers, Celtic, 100% are a threat. They're the two biggest teams in Scotland. Of course they're a threat, but they're wounded, and Hearts just need to keep plodding away, doing what they're doing. If they do have a setback, can they come back in the next game and win the next game, which they did? I mean, the derby was such a letdown for everybody, but they come back on Saturday there, they got 3 points, and they'll just look to get into the next game again, get another 3 points, and as I said, I think the game at the end of the month will be some spectacle.
I've got a couple of questions for you before we let you go, Ryan. First one I noticed in your column as well, talking earlier about not wanting to gloat, you expressed a strong opinion about the Rod Stewart social media stuff, kind of celebrating and gloating and mocking Wilfried Nancy's departure. It didn't sit well with you.
No, I didn't like it. I mean, I'd literally went on my social media quickly, and it was one of the first videos that came up. And I just thought it was poor. Now people again will maybe jump on the bandwagon and say what a load of rubbish, but I just think for a global superstar, I know he's a massive Celtic fan. He is such a big superstar in the world. I mean, to be going on your social media and shouting, to go on your social media and shouting, I'm glad he's sacked, I'm away down the pub now to have a couple of pints and celebrate. At the end of the day, as bad as it is, football in terms not, he's still a human being, the guy. He still has a family. I don't think Rod Stewart would particularly appreciate if he had a bad concert and somebody was sitting there saying, oh God, I want my money back. He was absolutely rubbish. That was crap. He can't sing. Regardless his status round about the world, I just thought it was a poor show. Especially for somebody as classy as what I think he is.
Yeah, all right. Well, look, before I let you go, there is one thing I'm keen to get your thoughts on, and that was at Ibrox last night. I don't know if you saw it, but sitting on Aberdeen's bench was Luke Spenningsteele, next to Peter Leaving, giving instructions. I'm guessing that you and I will probably think similar about that. I saw Peter Levine being interviewed afterwards. He was asked about it, and you could almost see the look in his eyes. He was rolling his eyes into the back of his head. Where are you on this? Should that have been happening? Is that not really insulting to the guy that actually Peter Levine has come in? He's done this job before as caretaker, and he actually did really well at it and probably fancies himself for a crack at this. And this guy's sitting there holding his hand.
Yeah, I to be fair, mate, if I was Peter leaving, I'd have wanted to just walk down the tunnel and just said, you know what, you deal with it.
I'm wondering if that's what Lutz wants as well.
Yeah, I mean, what I don't like about it all is the fact that Peter's been at Aberdeen a long time. He knows the club, he knows the players. I mean, this is just the part I hate about football. I just want it to be where, like, a guy's lost his job. Peter was assistant manager. Let him take charge just now. Let him sort of try and go to. I mean, going to Ibrox. It's one of the. Again, it's one of your biggest stages, and this guy's sitting on the bench next to him, up in his ear, out in the touchline, shouting and all. If I was Peter leaving, I'd just be sitting there saying, "Do you know what?
You take it.
I'm out of here. I see you later." It's just does my head in, mate. You know how I feel about these things. It just completely does my head in. I don't understand why he would be on the bench.
No.
I mean, sit up in the stand. I mean, I wouldn't even be happy him coming down at half time into my changing room if I was managing. Mm-hmm. Me and him should have a meeting after training or after a game on the bus on the way home. There's plenty of time for us to have a chat. But why are you sitting on the bench next to me, trying to tell me what to do when Peter Leaving's more than capable of doing the job himself? As you said, he's done it before. Yeah. It was just a poor show for me, mate.
I think it's insulting. I thought it was an insult to him, but there you go.
Yeah,
Steve, well, listen, thanks for joining us, mate. That's really kind of you. Well, I don't know where you are in the world. I'm glad that you're not in the back of my car.
I'm in my motor. I'm just about to go back out to Ayr to coach. And Dan, that's the best I've heard you all night, mate, for a long time.
He's played a blinder, ain't he?
Superb. Right, lads, I'll see you later on.
Steve. Cheers,
See
mate.
you later.
Ryan.
Cheers, bye.
Just to check, Keith, you can definitely still hear me, can't you?
Yeah, I can, but you're in it. Well, I tell you what, seeing Big Ryan next time he comes into the studio, if you're ever here, oof.
Do you know, we've had some funny comments there talking about Fanning stealing the bench. Your little Muppet says, get Nicholson on the bench next to O'Neill. That would be good. I'd pay to see that. That would be good. We've got plenty of other comments coming in as well, Keith. Let me run through a few of them for you, actually, because we've got some good ones. Mainly on, going back to Ryan's column on Wilfried Nancy. The Goon Platoon says he walked out the door pushing a wheelbarrow full of cash. He's laughing all the way to the bank. Marzuno says sure he'll get a cushy job in MLS soon enough. James, though, says his attacking style was like Ange's, so Celtic should have given him more time. Mark says he might have gone back to Columbus Crew, given they haven't replaced them.
I think they did. I think Columbus Crew appointed somebody 5 days before Celtic brought the axe down on Big Wolf. So his timing's bad there as well, isn't it?
Stevie Murdoch says if Celtic hadn't taken Nancy in and kept Martin in charge, they could have been sitting top of the league 6 points in front of Hearts. And Mark again simply says, one diagonal pass down either flank, Celtic wouldn't bother. If I'm a complete numpty fan, I can see that, then surely every opposition manager and coach would eat us alive. And finally, on Celtic transfer...
No, they were.
Exactly, they were. I know they did. Joseph says, for a short term, bring in Simon Murray and Stuart Armstrong. Good midfielder, makes Celtic stronger. And there's a wee bit of Celtic transfer news, Keith, today that I think I can touch on.
Yeah. We've got to talk about Nico Segura.
Nico Segura, Canadian right back or defensive midfielder. You can tell us a wee bit more what I think about it. I think it's meant to have been one of Wilfried Nancy's picks.
Well, that seems to be the word around this. Apparently, Celtic have pretty much got a deal arranged and agreed with Hajduk Split. It's Hajduk Split, isn't it? I'm right there.
Yep.
But apparently, it's been placed on hold over the course of the last 24 hours. Now, that would tie into some of the stuff that we were hearing from Martin O'Neill's press conference yesterday, where he said, whatever happens now, there was one in the door that obviously he had nothing to do with. Any signings from this point onwards, Martin O'Neill will need to give it his personal seal of approval and blessing. So I think Celtic had moved this one forward to a point where it's just about ready for completion. I would imagine if there's some sort of stalling issue now, it'll need to be because Martin O'Neill will need to be very sure that this is a player that he wants before he tells Celtic to press ahead with it. So that's interesting. Purely from the point of what we were talking about yesterday. Can Celtic tie themselves into a transfer window which has been designed by Tisdale and Wilfried Nancy? That would seem like a very bad idea.
No, and look, I know they need players all over the pitch, but I mean, Paul Brady is one of a few people in the comments. Still no striker talk for Celtic. Keith,
that's a bad one.
How have they not got the striker? Should have been in January 1st.
They've had 12 months now.
It's
12
mad.
months.
It's mad.
This is the third window, 12 months, and still no striker. You're absolutely right. And by the way, let's not get it. Let's not be in any doubt about this. It's not as if anybody at Celtic is expecting them to go down and get Ekitike for Liverpool or whoever. We know where Scottish football is at. We know that if Celtic are going to get a striker, it's probably going to be a guy that's fallen out the picture a little bit at his club. And we're talking about top material here. We're not talking about potential 20-year-olds that could be the next big thing. I think Martin O'Neill, and if you look at how he built Celtic first time round with guys like Chris Sutton, Henrik Larsson, John Hartson. Now Larsson was already at the club, but there was 5 million and 6 million spent on the likes of Sutton and Hartson. I think that Martin O'Neill would be really pushing for that level of investment and that level of player, that profile of player. A guy, might be out of luck down south, and I think both John Hartson and Chris Sutton had fallen out of the picture at their clubs at Chelsea and West Ham respectively, but they were established Premier League performers, top level performers who Celtic were able to take at a low point in their career and give them a reinvention, a new platform. That's what Martin O'Neill did then. I would imagine that's what Martin O'Neill wants to do now. They've had plenty of time to line up, potential targets, guys that are proven, guys that can lead the line, guys that almost guarantee 20 goals between now and the end of the season, which, by the way, will probably be enough if Celtic can get a striker of that quality to win the title and maybe the Scottish Cup into the bargain. So for us to be sitting here, more than a week now after the window opened, and for Celtic to not even be apparently close to getting something tied down on a striker, that's a concern. It's a huge concern. It tells me that somebody's not doing their job.
In the comments, Marty says Giakoumakis done an interview saying he would go back and the deal just fell through to another club. And I should say, I think that interview was with Record Sports' Ryan McDonald, who we'll be hearing from a little bit later on. Daz says Lyndon Dykes is Sutton-esque, right up Martin O'Neill's street. I know you were talking about him last night.
I agreed with one of the guys that said that last night. I'm not saying that Lyndon Dykes, by the way, should be the top of Celtic's priority list. But if Lyndon Dykes is available, I think Martin O'Neill would like him. I think he'd do a really good job for anybody in the SPFL and the Premiership, whether that's Rangers, Celtic, Hearts, Hibs, whoever you like, Motherwell. I think Lyndon Dykes is a guy, and because the World Cup coming up, and because he's not been getting as much football, I think it would really put him in the shop window for Steve Clarke. I see so much sense in somebody in the Premier League, Scottish Premier League, taking a punt on Lyndon Dykes January. Absolutely. And by the way, if Celtic were to bring him in, plus another striker, well, there's all the firepower you're going to need.
Aye. Well, I mean, look, without being disrespectful as well, who would you rather go into a title run-in with up front? Johnny Kenny or Lyndon Dykes? It's pretty easy.
Lyndon Dykes is a better football player than a lot of people give him credit for.
No.
He's also a proper unit, puts himself about, would add physicality to the Celtic side, which isn't there just now. I just think that a lot of people look at Lyndon Dykes and they don't see what a very good football player he is in terms of his hold-up play, his ability to bring others into the game. I know everybody points to his scoring record, but you put him in a team that creates as many chances as Celtic do, you soon see a vast improvement in his goals return.
There's been other. Sorry, go on. Sorry,
as I said, that's twice now. A couple of our guys have mentioned it, and I'm just saying, I'm not saying that this is what Celtic will do, but if people are suggesting it, I can't disagree.
There's a couple other names that have been bandied about. Kyogo is one. Callum Wilson was another one I saw yesterday. But just to finish on the Celtic transfer talk, Ross, he comes up with a name that I would go for. Kieran Bowie, surely. Celtic asked the question and go and get the boy. Hibs fans won't like me for saying it, but if I was Celtic, I'd be taking a strong look and finding out how much it would cost to prize him away from Easter Road.
I like Kieran Bowie, and I think that he's got a big future in front of him. But I'm not sure at this young stage in his development you want to be pinning your title hopes on him. I think that might be a big ask. He struggled for form. He hit the ground running at the start of the season. He was on fire. But then once he got into the Scotland squad and he was getting rave reviews, his form has suffered for it. And I'm not sure. I think what Celtic need is an absolute banker in this transfer window. A guy that Martin O'Neill can be absolutely assured will walk into his first team and start scoring goals from day one, pretty much. Kieran Bowie is a player who is I think, still in development, the development kind of stage of his career. That's not who you pin your title hopes on. I don't think that'd be fair. And you could do him actually a lot of damage if it wasn't to go well.
Right, that's fair comment.
So I'm not with that one. I think Lyndon Dykes and Kieran Bowie would be a hell of a partnership.
That would terrify some defences. We're bouncing about, Keith, but we need to talk about the Rangers game last night. Rangers were a big win over Aberdeen. Before we actually talk about the game itself, I think we can hear a little bit from Nico Raskin, who was on he scored last night. He did score last night. He scored last night for Rangers.
And played very well again.
Aye. Well, let's have a listen, see what he had to say.
Just sum up how big the last 4 games have been. I think it's the first time over a year that the team has won 4 games in a row.
Yeah, it's been big. I think the team's got a lot of critics after the Hearts game, and it was deserved because it was a poor performance from us. But we stand up together and we look game by game and got some good wins. So now we are in a good position to keep pushing and try to keep the momentum going.
Can you talk to us about the spirit in this team? Because we know there's been difficult moments. We know that individually, including yourself, players have had difficult moments this year. But what's the sense of the dressing room like now? What is it together that's like?
Yeah, I think it's not been a great start for a lot of the boys for different reasons. But now since the manager came, he tried to insist on the basic, do the basic right on the pitch, be together, and then the quality can show up, and that's what we try to do as much as we can. I think the team is looking really good together. They have a great spirit, and obviously it helps when you win games. You get closer to the top, so we all look in the same direction together, and we just enjoy the win games. We try to give the fan a bit of pleasure, and then all together we look forward.
Do you think this team has the quality to win the title this year?
Well, we came back from a long way, so if we can do that and if we can keep going, why not?
The manager said he asked for leaders in the squad 10 weeks ago, and he was saying that he feels that you've really stepped up in that regard. Have you done anything differently? Is that a deliberate thing from you to step up and try and be a real leader in this group?
No, I'm just being me. I'm just being myself and try to do it every day. Obviously, when the old manager was here, it was a bit more difficult for me to interact with the boys at some point. But right now, I'm just back with my being myself, and I feel the trust of the manager and of the staff, and just give me a lot of confidence. But in our group, everyone here tried to step up. We have loads of people talking, and we try to push each other to the right direction. So it's good.
Have you been surprised at how quickly the group and the manager have managed to turn things around from where they were earlier on in the season to now just being 3 points off the top of the table?
Football was quick in every sense. So right now we're enjoying because they are closer to the top. Remember how many bad comments we had after the Hearts game. So it goes really quick. So now we just need to keep calm. Take game after game. It's going to be a very different game up in Aberdeen. So just taking game by game and try to do our best.
We are talking about the turnaround that the team's had. I don't suppose MD's had a bigger turnaround this season than Yusuf. I mean, a lot of speculation about him. I'll have talked about him, his transfer fee. But you look at what he did at the weekend. You look at the leadership, how he's performed up front, and just giving you that platform to play off of. You just talk about how impressed you've been with the way that he's coming into form now.
You just said remind me a bit of Cyril in the sense of whatever happened for him, critics or not, he's always keep his smile, always keep his good attitude, work hard on training. And we knew looking at him that he would come good at some point because he has everything to be the top striker. He is quick, can hold the ball, can score goals. So we're just pleased for him. He's a top guy. He brought something to our team. And every game now he's just showing a bit more of himself, a bit more of his personality, and we really enjoy Yusuf.
During those kind of difficult periods for him, did you, as one of the leaders of the team, Nico, did you speak to him and just encourage him and, you know, convince him that it was a good turn for him?
Yeah, we have a really good squad for that. No one is letting down. We always pick everyone up, and we always try to go all together in the same direction, because at the end of the day, we are the guys on the pitch all together. So we need Yusuf. We need Yusuf at his best. And so everyone was there for him. And now we just show all his qualities. So we're all happy for him.
You said as well that you came from such a long way behind 2 months ago. For example, you wrote that was a title race was perhaps beyond you. What do you think was a turning point? Where did you find the belief that you were still alive in this?
I don't think there's been one turning point. I just think the fact that we started to get some wind and wins a bit more, and also the fact that the other team lost points, everything together make us where we are now. So it's just try to keep the momentum going and then see where we end up.
Yes. You want what's one more? Obviously tonight there's and again Celtic, there's been set piece scores and a lot's been made of the new set piece coach. Is that something that the managers really kind of hammered into the squad to take those chances when they come?
Yeah, we know set piece are a big part of football right now, and Scott came in, done a brilliant job. He tried to get our attention on details on what we can improve, because set pieces is about details. And yeah, we were prepared. We worked hard on that. But also, I have to say, for my goal, the ID and credit also goes to Tap, because he recognized in the corner just before that they were taking one man out of the zone, and he just went himself go to corner, say like played in first zone, then come to me, say go first zone, now already told corner, and then we score from that. So credit to Tap for that. That's why also Tan is important for us, because he's always there thinking for the team, trying to give everything for the team and push us in the right direction.
Keith, right, on this show, just a couple of months ago, with yourself, with Andy Newport, Scott McDermott, we had legitimate debates. Is this the worst Rangers team of all time? As we sit here now, they've won 4 Premiership games in a row.
They're unbeaten. Anybody said of all time. I don't think even I'm old enough to make that judgment.
No, maybe not old. In our... I think you said it was the worst team since the late 80s.
I thought it was the least talented group of Rangers players since the early 80s, since pre-Souness.
They've won 4 in a row. They're 3 points off the top. They're unbeaten in 5 league games against Celtic. And by the way, I agreed with you. But were we a bit harsh?
No,
Okay.
we weren't. You can only judge with your eyes and what your eyes are telling you. And I was talking about Rangers teams back then that still had people like Davy Cooper in it and, you know, Bobby Russell and these. They were top players. They would walk into that starting 11 even now. Well, obviously not.
No point.
But the point being, Rangers have been a ragtag bunch all season. The Russell Martin thing was a complete and utter disaster. What was it? They went 8 games at the start of the season without a win or something like that. I mean,
1 in their first 8.
It was atrocious. Absolutely an atrocious summer transfer window. The funny thing is that under Danny Rowe, and this is what a good coach does, a good coach takes players and improves them. You're seeing improvements now, not just in the team setup, they look far more secure at the back, but you are seeing individual improvements. Nico Raskin was already a really good player. You know what I think of Nico Raskin. It was only a matter of time until he started operating and performing again. He's clearly enjoying himself. Connor Barron has come on leaps and bounds. And yes, Big Chermiti, although everybody's giving him stick, and although I'm still to be convinced that he should have been anywhere near an £8 million or £10 million transfer fee, whatever it ends up being for Rangers, he is starting to show signs. That's because of the work that's going on in the training ground. He's getting a bit of confidence about him. And yes, Rangers are improving. They're certainly improving, but they're still miles off it in terms of when you consider the Rangers teams that you've seen win titles previously. You know, when you look at the players, you think back to the teams that Barry Ferguson, your George Alberts, Giovanni Van Bronckhorst.
They would batter this Rangers team.
It's a different world. But Rangers are where they are right now. They're in a league that is open in terms of the second half of the season. And they've worked really hard, and great credit to them and to their manager for getting themselves into a position that they can now be in contention in the second half of the season. But I still contend, Dan, that in order for them to turn being competitive into being triumphant in this title race, they need quality, and they need quality tomorrow, yesterday. And they need to improve about 3 or 4 starting positions. And if they can do that and bring in a real increase in quality, then they won't be the least talented Rangers side that you've seen since the 19th. And they might have a real proper tilt at the title in the second half of the campaign. And also, listen, I think that point there about set pieces, and that's, again, credit to the coaching staff. They have appointed a new guy for that. You know, I think there's some Rangers fans out there who are gloating about the fact they're now calling themselves Set Piece FC. But listen, these are all, look at what Arsenal have done down south. It's such an important part of the game.
Aye, definitely.
I think they often say something like 30% of goals are scored from set piece situations. So if you can work on that and put the hours in on the training ground and perfect it, then you're going to give yourself a hell of a chance. Hearts have done it, and look what it's done to them at the start of the season. And Rangers are greatly improved because of that additional threat. Manny Fernandes, there's another one. A guy that looked completely lost, but with work and coaching on the training ground, he's starting to look more and more comfortable, and he's a hell of an asset in the opposition penalty box. That's for sure. If you can get the delivery right, he's almost impossible to stop. So I think that's him get 5 goals now. Who's to say he can end up in double figures before the end of the season if he stays in the team?
You never know, eh? Before we finish, Keith, we mentioned Celtic a little bit earlier on, but I caught with Ryan McDonald, Record Sports Ryan McDonald, to talk about the Celtic fan collective and some of the consternation that's still going on behind the scenes between the club and the fans.
I know, I think that'll be the frustrating part, is that Martin O'Neill's in. That should be the feel-good spark. That should be the start of the healing and everybody coming together. But I think what happened, the Celtic Collective have put out a statement today, and they're threatening a boycott. I think they're open to peace talks, but at the same time, it's carrot and stick stuff, isn't it?
Yeah, absolutely. Well, look, I caught up with Ryan to talk about it a bit more in depth, and let's hear what he had to say. The one and only Ryan McDonald joins me on the Hotline Live now. Ryan, St. Martin is back. Wilfried Nancy's gone. Everything seems rose in the garden again for Celtic. But then I read today the Celtic fan collective are far from happy. They want to sit down with acting chairman Brian Wilson. And to be honest, who can blame them? I mean, the lack of leadership at Celtic is just astounding to me.
Yeah, they've released an open letter to the interim chairman last night, I believe it was. I think they said over 142 supporters buses have put their signatories behind it, and also threatened to lead a home game boycott as well. I don't think I think if Wilfried Nancy was still in position, that would have probably been pretty imminent. I'd suggest it would have probably happened this weekend. But, a boycott is obviously something that we would never endorse. But, the fans, I was outside Celtic Park last week when the fans were up in arms and protesting and giving the players all sorts of abuse and calling for the Wilfried Nancy, calling for Michael Nicholson, Dermot Desmond, Chris Mackay all to go. So Wilfried Nancy and Paul Tisdale were out the door. Obviously, they're they vowed last week, the Celtic fans collective vowed last week that we're going to ramp up their campaign to oust the remaining kind of board members. However, Brian Wilson has an opportunity, and I think that's what the Celtic fans collective have put out there. When Martin O'Neill was confirmed as manager until the end of the season, in the statement that was put out, Brian Wilson said that he wants unity. Mm-hmm. So I think actions speak louder than words. I think Brian Wilson's got a massive opportunity now to be, the most unifying board member, in quite a while. And he now, he's basically got it in his hands now to play a part in ending this mess that's unfolded this season. So he's got a big opportunity. I think definitely there needs to be, Celtic really do need to engage with their supporters, and they need to get around the table and sort this out once and for all, because if Celtic are going to mount this title fight back, they need the fans on side. I think they do need the Green Brigade back. You hear about this famous Celtic Park atmosphere, but you can hear a pin drop inside Celtic Park most weeks now, and I think if Celtic fans are honest with themselves, that's the truth. It's like a morgue. So the Green Brigade, I think, are a big part of the match day experience at Celtic Park. They bring a lot of colour. I know they've obviously had their controversies in the past, but if you look at what they bring to the match day experience, they bring a lot of colour, they bring the atmosphere, and I think that's what's solely lacking at Celtic Park just now. So if they can get that, I'm sure Martin Neal would appreciate the Green Brigade back in their section as well, and bury this ongoing boardroom feud for a while. Brian Wilson can be that unifying figure, then Celtic on to a winner.
No, I completely agree. There is an opportunity for Brian Wilson and Celtic. And, whether it's Brian Wilson or Mike Nicholson or whoever in the Celtic hierarchy, someone needs to, frankly, take the bull by the horns. I was going to say something different there. And sit down with the Celtic fans, because, there's been no explanation over why Wilfried Nancy was hired. Why was Paul Tisdale, no disrespect, but an Exeter City manager in charge of football operations? Why has the last 2 transfer windows been a shambles? Celtic fans, rightly so, deserve an explanation. They deserve to be talked to at the very least. A puff piece every couple of months with Celtic TV just isn't going to cut it.
Yeah, I think Martin Neal's almost become a human shield for the Celtic board.
Which is a brass neck, by the way, letting Martin Neal go out and sort of be the voice, for the Celtic board. I think that's out of order, really.
Yeah, I've said it umpteen times in this show, Michael Nicholson just doesn't face the media. Paul Tisdale, I think he was appointed head of football operations in October 2024, I think it was.
I think you're right, yeah.
18 months later, he's out the door, and we never get the chance to question him, and we never even found out what he actually did day to day. He never even did a Celtic TV interview. So, yeah, these issues are well known. There needs to be better communication coming out from the club, and I think it was telling as well that once again for the third time that a manager has been unveiled at Celtic this season. It's the third time in a row as well that he's done it himself. There's been no Michael Nicholson, there's been no chairman, there's been no Celtic board member sitting alongside him, which obviously is unprecedented. You look at all the previous press manager unveilings, and they've always had Peter Lawwell when he was chairman, Michael Nicholson as chief executive alongside them. So it's simply not good enough for a club of Celtic stature, and there's going to have to come a point where the board are going to have to face the media and explain the rationale behind some of their decision making this season. They can't, it's one of these things they can't hide forever. They can't. There's only so many scripted Celtic TV interviews that you can do, and I just think for a club of Celtic stature, the board really do need to come out and properly answer the questions which the fans all have.
I completely agree with you, and I couldn't agree more. And whatever happens, we'll cover it all on Hotline Live. But for now, Ryan, so thanks so much for joining us. Much appreciated.
Cheers, Dana, man.
Ryan McDonald there, Keith, and just, to tie up on that, you're looking up, it says, Desmond and Nicholson won't answer to anyone. They still haven't said they got it wrong or apologised. And sadly, I think he's probably spot on.
On this occasion, actions speak louder than words where the Celtic board is concerned. They, by sacking Wilfried Nancy after just 8 games, by removing the man who they obviously blame for the appointment, Paul Tisdale, they've acted. And that's as much as Celtic fans could really hope for, more than they could hope for, because this, given the way that they've handled themselves, the glaring lack of professionalism that's been attributable at Boardroom level this season, I think Celtic fans, it's a small win that at least the board acted when they did. Don't expect Dermot Desmond to come out and say sorry for anything. Don't expect Michael Nicholson to suddenly enjoy it and appearing in front of a camera. Ain't going to happen. He's been the invisible chief executive his entire time in charge. I think it's a dereliction of duty. I think he's got a responsibility to communicate properly with the paying customers, Celtic Football Club. But it's not going to change. It's just not. And in many ways, I can completely understand why Celtic fans think that is the equivalent of the board just sticking two fingers up at them. But they did make the decision. They have potentially saved Celtic's season by acting swiftly and professionally where Wilfried Nancy is concerned, and by bringing Martin O'Neill back. So I wonder if this all goes well, and if the Martin O'Neill fairy tale delivers what the Celtic support are imagining that it will, then maybe when the ticker tapes fall in May, a lot of this stuff gets forgotten about. But it won't be forgotten by a lot of people, and understandably so.
No, I completely agree. I think this...
But by the way, that's taking it for granted that World War III doesn't end all that before.
Aye. No, I think this is a usual tiff between fans and the board. I think this is a bit deeper. But look, whatever happens, we'll be here to cover it on Hotline Live. But for now, Keith, I think that brings us to the end of Wednesday night's show. Thank you so much for all the comments. Massively appreciate it as always. We'll be back to do it all at 6 p.m. tomorrow. We had one of the comments here, Keith, from William, saying, "Where is Mr. Gannon tonight? Is he stuck on the treadmill?" I think we should check in on him, because he's been a bit quiet today. So we'll check in on him, see how he's doing tomorrow. Maybe try and get him on. But aye, thanks for all the comments tonight, Keith. It's always a pleasure.
You missed that one there, I think.
What did you say?
I'll get in touch with Monjaro Mick and make sure that he's okay. Make sure there's not been an overdose or something.
Exactly. Make sure
the next time we see him, we'll come in like he spent 3 weeks in a concentration camp.
Yeah, make sure he's not had a fall, broken hip or something, you know.
I know, because they get brittle at that age as well.
Aye, as they get a bit older, you know. On that note, thank you very much for watching, and we'll be back at 6 p.m. tomorrow. Hope you can join us then. Keith, cheers.
Night, Dan.
Good night. Hopefully see you tomorrow. Cheers.